Good afternoon. My name is Jenica, Microsoft Manufacturing Industry Director. Thank you for attending ITAP 2021. Today, I'm going to talk about Supply Chain 4.0. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to share about why we need to do digital transformation in the supply chain. Then, I'm going to share with you our own Microsoft internal supply chain transformation story. The pandemic, trade tensions, shifting customer demands, climatic change are all making demands on the traditional supply chains. This is a 2021 Harvard Business Review survey. It shows that 90% of executives recognize that supply chains are a strategic resource. However, only 8% have achieved digital maturity today. 70% are accelerating their supply chain modernization today as we speak. I would like to share with you how Microsoft did our own supply chain transformation. Microsoft is a leading software and solutions provider, but also a hardware manufacturer. Microsoft builds Xbox, Surface, HoloLens, along with other technology products like keyboards. In fact, Microsoft has more than 42,000 active SKUs and works with about 400 suppliers and ships to over 30,000 locations in 107 countries. Our global supply chain includes 33 factories and distribution centers and serves 122 markets globally. Today, all the data related to the Microsoft supply chain can be accessed via one single data lake. Microsoft supply chain transformation was driven by a number of external factors, which means we need to respond faster and decide better. We were dealing with low prices and thin margins, increased customer service expectations, product quality improvements, and shorter product life cycles. We collected a lot of production data from globally distributed operations, but were struggling to aggregate this information to produce the useful insights that were needed to make effective business decisions. So the old way of working and our legacy system, which basically we build as needed on top of our legacy stack and on BizTop, could not handle the requirements. And so we began our digital supply chain transformation. It was a transformation and journey that took place over many years. We started from many islands of data, pulling reporting data onto a single cloud platform, building real-time connections to improve data quality, and then using the data to drive insights. Then we move on to automate the data analysis through AI, machine learning, predictive analytics, and then move on to intelligent and more adaptive forecasts. Our supply chain transformation journey was in 3 waves. In the first stage of the project, Microsoft focused on connecting data systems and surfacing the combined data to help operators, factory managers, executives, and others to spot trends and issues. We use several methods to connect to data sources, whether it's through PowerShell script, Azure SQL proxy services, connected IoT services, SharePoint services, etc. They are all fed into a single data lake. We use Power BI as the interface between the business consumers and the data collected. Microsoft set up a big screened room, a control room with many screens, and also on the factory floor, which allows the operators to drill into the details as required. Today, the team members simply can walk into the room and see the reports, interact with the data, and derive insights from the results. In addition, they can see the reports anytime from their office or through the phone. In the second phase of the project, Microsoft moved beyond basic reporting to produce insights that make it easier to detect potential supply chain issues before they arise. We leverage on IoT capabilities to be more proactive and predictive in improving operational processes. Connected devices were installed to pull manufacturing data from factory equipment, process control to monitor the supply chain process down to specific equipment. This allows the team to see connections between the process steps as they happened without relying on testing and other data. The team uses Azure Data Warehouse and Azure Data Lake to gather the huge amount of data pulled daily into the Azure IoT Connected Factory. These data and metrics also have automated responses and triggers for the factory plant managers and engineers to take note and provide a feedback loop with statistics and relevance into the management dashboard. Eventually, in the final stage of the project, we integrate machine learning and predictive maintenance capabilities into the supply chain process to realize benefits of the connected factory and other Azure solutions along the entire end-to-end supply chain process. This is our initial landscape at Microsoft. Before, information and data are siloed across multiple systems. There was no single source of truth. Every node in the supply chain has their own version of the data. That resulted in no end-to-end analytics or very manual process using data extracts in Excel. There was limited visibility across the chain and backward looking. Upstream and downstream partners are also not connected. We work to build the number of data points from 1 billion data points a day to 10 billion data points a day. We automated the data capture so that instead of assessing data in hours or days, we now assess them in minutes and seconds. We were able to analyze our data 100% and close to real time. Having one virtually centralized data platform enables us to integrate siloed systems without rebuilding the system. The shift onto the cloud was all about driving greater agility, resilience, and scalability to meet business goals. We managed to pull the data and integrate them into the supply chain cloud and create that business intelligence and dashboard. Here's a sample of our end-to-end dashboard. They support us to understand operational performance, predict problems, integrate people and business processes, discover and gain new visibility and insights. Microsoft set up a large array of Power BI screens in the control room and allow operators to drill into the details. Interesting fact, we use machine learning to build our demand forecast. The machine learning also takes in external data such as latest news development, weather forecast, business economic trends, and over time, we noticed that the machine learning forecast has been more accurate than the human forecast alone. And here's a more detailed breakdown of our supply chain analytics. You note that we took in data and estimate and predict and continuously retrain our demand and supply models. As mentioned, Microsoft has over 400 suppliers. One of the business needs today is also supplier diversification. Here, Microsoft uses a risk-based framework for assessing suppliers. We use a scalable framework that gives us depth in specific areas. For instance, we started with contract and legal to make sure that our security language is focused and specific in the security contracts. Then we define which suppliers are critical and need hand-holding versus which suppliers can be left alone. This is a profiling model. If anything changes, the profile gets adjusted. This is a continuous monitoring aspect of it. We use internal and external data to make continuous monitoring possible. That will help us figure the low, medium, and high-risk suppliers so that we can focus our attention on high-risk suppliers. We are looking at the entire supply life cycle of a supplier. And in cases where there is termination of contract or other situations where the supplier is unable to perform, we have to be ready with a backup supplier. This is an example of the dashboard which we use to rate each supplier in our Microsoft supply chain. We actually use this to match it against our long-term vision of our supply chain and supply chain program. Here's a snapshot of the benefits of our Microsoft digital transformation outcome. You can see that we have gained increased visibility, collaboration across the end-to-end supply chain, and factory productivity. On the right side, our product commitment is increased. We also have a higher demand forecast accuracy and lower working capital. We have achieved what we have started to get, which is more visibility into our supply chain and a more responsive and resilient supply chain. In our journey, the defining of a clear supply chain vision and a well-defined architecture upfront help us to stay on track in our transformation journey to achieve the success we have today. Some integration principles which we have gathered over our journey. First, we are focused on a modular and scalable microservice-based model. This allows us to start small and scale. We are willing to work with a mix of hybrid solutions until we can move all our workload to the cloud. Secondly, our supply chain success is contingent on our partner ecosystems too. And we leverage extensively not only on first-party solutions, but also on our partner solutions with advanced technical capabilities. Thirdly, where possible, we try to automate all the point and edge services so that we can scale easily. We use a number of Industrial 4.0 technologies to build our digital supply chain, such as IoT, digital twin, AI, machine learning, predictive analytics, cloud, edge, blockchain, etc. As mentioned, we work with our own first-party solutions and best partner solutions in the market to drive supply chain efficiency. We also incorporate supply chain trust element so as to reduce different types of financial and operational risk in the supply chain. The traditional linear supply chain is no longer adaptive. We are looking now today at a new, connected, responsive network supply chain, and the digital platform is the enabler for such a supply chain. In closing, here's the big picture of our Microsoft supply chain capabilities. We have the technology enablers listed here, both Microsoft solutions and our supply chain partner solutions. Thank you for attending today's session. Goodbye.